going on, Blossoms back? Welcome back to the episode of Top Drives and the second part of Overrated or Overpowered French Riviera Edition. Now, in the previous episode, we covered the first 9 cars of the series, and in today's episode, we're going to cover another set of 9 cars. Now, if there are any cars that I have missed out, please let me know down in the comments below, but remember, do check out the cars from part 1 as well. This is the second part, and of course, we're going to be diving into 9 cars today to see if they are indeed overrated or overpowered. So, starting this off with today's video is the Renault Sport Megane Trophy-R. Now, I'm starting to see a trend here, guys, that M3 CSL, that used to stand out as being the only medium ground clearance epic in top drives that gets 97 handling at a very low epic RQ. But since then, we have gotten more cars, the Cadillacs, we've gotten the Civic Type R, and now I've gotten the Renault Sport Megane Trophy-R, another medium ground clearance car of 87 handling. So, you know, I would say that the overall hype for these high handling, medium ground clearance, low RQ epic cars are dying down, but let's see how good this thing actually is. So, putting it up against French Riviera medium ground clearance cars, it wins where you want it to win. It does lose to the ultra rare that's like, you know, 4 RQ cheaper. That's not a good look, right, for the car park G-force and G-force rolling, but I'm okay with letting it slide, because the Megane Trophy-R wins where it needs to win, which are those city street mediums. So, you know, not the best comparison in the world, considering that, you know, the Megane Trophy-R and the Clio Cup are indeed 4 RQ apart, but I'll let it slide because it wins where it needs to. So still, we're off to a decent start. Now, moving on to epic performance tire medium ground clearance, as you can see, I'm putting it up against all those 97 medium ground clearance cars, the CSL, the Cadillac CT5, the Honda Civic, and now we have the Megane. I'm also putting it up against some other medium ground clearance cars that are performance tires around that RQ neighborhood. And as you can see, the Megane Trophy is best on the G-force as well as the slalom, ironically. You know, although it's the best within this comparison, G-force and slalom are the very tracks that it loses against to the ultra rare Clio Cup. So what I'm trying to say here is, yes, the Megane Trophy-R is shining in this comparison, but if you could use ultra rares, you might as well use the ultra rares anyway, because they are better to use. Now, moving on, the Renault Sport Megane is now being placed up against French medium ground clearance cars, and again, it wins where it needs to win on the city streets with RQ66 and below. But the moment you bring in the RQ70, which used to be an RQ64, Alpine A310, that car becomes the next dominant winner here. So yeah, I mean, I don't expect it to beat the Alpine A310. It wins where it should, I guess, within its RQ. Now, overall, I would say that the Renault Sport Megane is slightly above average, and the main reason for that is mainly because it wins where it needs to win. As long as you put it in the right circumstances, which is, you know, French Riviera medium ground clearance or just French medium track sets, it will be a relatively useful car for you. Now, moving on to the second car, this was one that a lot of people wanted to look at, the Renault Sport Clio II Cup, which is like, I guess, the French Lotus Elise Sprint. Well, let's see how well it goes against the Lotus Elise Sprint. We'll see that in a bit. But yeah, putting it up against French Riviera performance and slick tire cars, it does perform pretty well. You know, looking at it 323 as well as 233, it's really good in car park and G-force, indoor karting, and the slalom, so that's always good. Obviously, I did take away the times for the Renault Clio V6 Trophy. If you take that away, you can see that this RQ49 is beating some RQ60s, 58s, 51s. It definitely is like the second best option, you know, after the Renault Clio V6 Trophy that you see over here when it comes to the lower RQ Ultra Rares or the higher RQ Super Rares from the update. Now, moving on, let's see how good it is against the Lotus Elise Sprint. As you can see here, the Lotus Elise Sprint is still very much superior. So when you put it up with the big dogs, the Clio II Cup doesn't really do anything, unfortunately. So we got to narrow it down. So let's have a look at it. French performance tires, slick and low ground clearance. The Clio II Cup is, again, a very important car. It loses on the hairpin on the Twin'Run Cup, loses on the slalom, that's fine. It wins everywhere else, beating out the Peugeot Diamonds and Spades, the Renault R21, and also the Citroën C2 R2. So it is a good French twisty super rare, just not a good general one, because it still loses to that Lotus Elise Sprint. That thing is fantastic, isn't it? So overall, for some reason my keyboard is not working. Keyboard. There you go. Jammed for a second. There you go. Okay, that's bad. There you go. So yeah, Renault Sport Clio Cup. Cup. Is it a good car? I think it's a good car. I think it's a very good car. But it's not Blossom Choice, right? For it to be Blossom Choice, it needs to at least be trading blows with that Lotus Elite Sprint, which it doesn't. So I don't think it's a Blossom Choice, but it is a very good car. You just gotta know where to use it. One thing I didn't highlight is that pre-2010s niche, where it does pretty well. Actually, I do highlight it. Yes, it was frozen. So over here, as you can see, pre-2010 Super Air Twisties, it is a good car as well, beating out things like the Jaguar XJS Trans Am, the Vauxhall VX220, if it isn't like, you know, a hybrid circuit. It also beats out the Corvette Stingray 3, Mazda RX-01, so and also that Nissan Cherry Coupe in some circumstances. So yeah, Renault Clio Cup being the best car to use for the indoor karting, to slaloms, the G-force, the car parks, and the twisty roads. Pretty good stuff. All right, moving on. Alpine A310. This one was interesting when I got the times and I was looking at this car. Initially, when I was, you know, testing out the car, I was like, wow, it's pretty dumb. It's actually pretty bad. But towards the end, I kind of realized, wait a minute, it's actually okay. So, yeah, I gotta get rid of the search bar over there, get rid of that. As you can see, we're not off to a good start here because the RQ29 Alpine A310 is losing on a lot of track sets to the RQ25 Renault Win concept. Same update as well from these two cars, right? Which is pretty crazy. I think they're the same. They should be the same update, yes. Yes, because it is filtered by French Riviera Uncommon, as you can see below there. So they are same update for sure. I already can't remember that. But yeah, it already loses to an RQ25. You know, a car is 4RQ cheaper to use, so that's not a good start. But it does win on the hairpin, twisted circuit, and fast circuit. And the one thing to take note of is where it wins, the fast circuit, right? That is going to be its big saving grace. So moving on here, French Uncommon performance and slick tires. The Alpine A310 is the best for hairpin, karting, twisted circuits, and fast circuits. And then the Renault Win concept, which was beating the Alpine, isn't the best for anything anymore because those honors, you know, super twisty tracks, it goes to the Peugeot Asphalt, being the best for car park and G-force slaloms and all that kind of stuff as well. So, you know, the Alpine at least remains winning where it did win against the French Riviera cars. So that's at least a decent start. Now moving on here, performance uncommon. So this is every single uncommon in the game, some of the best ones, and putting up against the Mazda Roadster NRA. And as you can see, the Alpine A310 is still winning on the fast circuit. Is even beating out that RQ28 Holden Monaro CV6. Okay, so that is one thing that we need to look at. 1970s uncommon niche. The Alpine is still the best for the fast circuit, twist circuit rolling, and hairpin road. One thing I do want to note is that the Alpine A310 is the new best fast circuit uncommon in the game. So although we didn't have a good start in the comparisons, you just gotta know where to use it. Just put it on a fast circuit. This is the best uncommon fast circuit car in the game right now, and it's also decent on the hairpin road within some niches, right? 1970s niche, for example. So overall, it's over average. The fact that it is the best car for a track set in an entire rarity is a huge boost for a car like this. And the track set that it's the best on is also a very common track set. It's the fast circuit. So yeah, above average, you're going to definitely find use for this one. Moving on is the Alpine A110 1800. Now, this was a car where I honestly thought that it wouldn't do well at all, but it did go above my expectations. So overall, as you can see, French off-road ultra rares that are rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive, the Alpine is the best car here. Just know where to use it on the dirt, right? It is beating out, you know, French ultra rares with way higher handling. I think the biggest surprise here is that it's able actually to beat the Renault Clio Williams Maxi kit car that used to be an epic. 93 handling stock on this, and this only has 87. I'm pretty sure the A110. Yeah, 87, but it is winning on even a twisty road dirt, which I think is very interesting. Moving on to the dirt wet, the Alpine wins the majority of the track sets once again. Same thing on the gravel, right? Same thing on the sand, and same thing in the snow. So I'm actually genuinely surprised, especially in the snow, when handling is what I like to say is everything. The Clio with 93 handling only beats it on frozen lake, and it loses on twisted road snow to the Peugeot 3008 because you need high ground clearance for that. But the Alpine, for some reason, with 87 handling, I guess rear-wheel drive is really paying dividends here. Even on the snow, the Alpine is better on G-force, hairpin, twisty circuit, slalom, forest road within this entire French off-road, ultra, rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive niche. So that's very, very cool. Moving on, over here you can see that I took away the French cars, so is now competing up against like the Skoda and the Skoda Felicia's kit car and all that kind of stuff, the Fiat 500. And as you can see, when you compare it up against the non-French stuff, then the Alpine does fall back just a little bit. It doesn't win anything anymore. That Skoda 130 is better to use. Off-road rear drive ultra, same niche, this time for the dirt stuff. Alpine, you just gotta know where to use it. Twisty circuit, rallycross stuff, it does pretty decent in as well. Overall, it's a good car. It surpassed my expectations. I thought that this thing with 87 handling would be really bad. But the fact that, I guess it's rear-wheel drive and it's very lightweight, it paid off. It really did pay off. I mean, French Riviera off-road as well as French off-road, as long as it's rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive, this is a very, very good car to use across all off-road conditions. So, this did surprise me in a good way. So, yeah, it is a good car. Moving on is the Renault Sport Megane RS TCR. This is a car of 85 MRA, over 100 handling when you max it out. As you can see over here, within the French Riviera Epics performance tires, and including the Alpine A110 Rally that has all surface tires, it doesn't win that much. I mean, it wins karting, twisty circuit rolling, which is pretty rare, twisty road, car park, and G-force. Loses on the hairpin to an all surface tire car, and it loses on the G-force rolling, the slaloms to an RQ66 Renault Fluence GT touring car that you see down here. But hey, it's still one of the better cars that you could use for the French Riviera Epic niche. Now we move on to just French cars, so not French Riviera only, but just French cars. And as you can see, still not bad, right? Within this niche, it beats out the 306 Maxi on a few track sets, beats out the Peugeot 207 on a few track sets, all while being in the same RQ, which is a good start for the Renault Megane. That being said, now when we look at, front-wheel drive Epic, so this time it's not just French cars, we're adding in things like the Mazdas, the Alphas, the Hyundais. As you can see, the Renault Megane doesn't win anything anymore, but the Peugeot Maxi does remain winning the hairpin and indoor karting. So, you kind of tell yourself, okay, the Maxi does lose to the Megane in some places, but it does win and it stays winning. So I would say that the Peugeot Maxi is more of a specialist than the Renault Megane. It holds its own better against the competition, and in my opinion, I think that makes you a better car. So overall, I think that the Renault Sport Megane RS TCR is actually slightly under average. They are just a lot better front-wheel drive cars for you to use. I mean, the front-wheel drive cars that I compared the Megane with were just within his RQ range. There are many prize cars that are front-wheel drive. There are many non-prize cars like the Chevy Cruze front-wheel drive car, that is just, way better to use as well. So overall, I think this car is slightly under average. I can genuinely see this as an RQ68. It is good for some select track sets for French Riviera only, but when you take it out from, that niche, it does falter a bit, honestly. Now, moving on is the Renault Fiftie. This one, again, was a little bit of a surprise. The main speciality for this is, I would say, slalom and car park. I think it performs very well on those two. It's an RQ31, but it's beating out 32s, 33s, and 34s. Does lose to the 35, but hey, it's already punching above its weight, so very, very impressive there. Moving on, as you can see, the Renault Fiftie, in terms of, front standard tires, French standards. I did not change this text down here, but this is just French standards. Again, beating out cars that are RQ35, RQ31 on car park and slalom. Very impressive stuff. So what I have gathered here is that within French standard tires, the Renault Fiftie is the 5th, is the 5th best for car park, and it is the 2nd best for slalom. So if you really want to save your RQ on a French wet event, I would recommend the Fiftie. It's RQ31, but it's beating a bunch of 38s, 39s, and 37s on the slalom. I mean, it's the 2nd best option to use, only behind the Renault Clio, which is RQ39. So that's pretty good, I would say. In a general sense, I didn't show the pictures. I tested it, but I didn't show the pictures. It loses to like Subarus, loses to like the AutoZam, so I didn't bother. This is going to be a car that you're going to use just strictly within the French niche. If you want to save your RQ in a general rare occasion or event, just use an MX-5 or something like that. That's going to be better still. But still, this again, it shocked me, right? It's a very lightweight car, very nimble car. It's kind of like a French Caterham almost for the wet. All right, moving on, the Renault Rafale. So we go from one very promising center tire French Riviera car to one I find, well, you'll see. So yeah, starting off over here is the French standard niche. Obviously, it might be called Rafale. I don't know what it's called, man. But yeah, you can tell me in the comments. Not that I'm going to learn on this one, because I can't be bothered. But yeah, where does it stand? Good on a car park, good on a slalom, good on a twisty road when it comes to French standards, but there is a very big caveat here. First of all, it is losing to performance tire cars like the Peugeot SR1, same RQ between those cars, right? And it loses to the Peugeot SR1 on hairpin road, twisty circuit, fast circuit. And also I'm not putting the times for the Citroen and the DS Numero 9, which are just going to be better cars. So, you know, this RQ69 Renault isn't the best use. It even loses to the Citroen Metropolis, which is a pretty terrible car, and it even loses to the Peugeot Flux, right? But then again, this is the French standard niche, right? From the Flux, which isn't even standard tires, it's performance. So I guess from the Metropolis, it just drops down to the DS7 Crossback. But anyway, moving on. Here's another niche, which I think is the only saving grace if it performs well. It's the SUV standard niche, right? Because against RQ69 standards, just all RQ69 standards, the Renault Rafale is just completely useless. But if I just limit it to just SUVs with standard tires, it's still not very good. It wins in slalom, I guess. But you know, the Audi e-tron is the car that you want to use, or the Alfa Tonale plug-in. That's a better option to use. If I put in the times for the Di Tommaso, this is going to win everything. So yeah, not a good car. Overall, epic Renaults again loses to the Trezor. Trezor has performance tires, so I think that's actually a little bit disgraceful that the Renault can't even beat that. I mean, again, slalom G-force car park. You know, that's the thing, right? For the Renault, it's like good for like, I guess within its RQ, slalom, G-force car park, within its niche and RQ. So like French Riviera RQ 6070 or like French RQ 6070, kind of around that range. It needs a lot going in its favor for this car to actually do something. So I think it's overrated. 69 is a bit too high. Could be a 68, could be a 67 maybe. But anyway, moving on. This is the Renault Twin'Run. A lot of people wanted me to do this one. I thought it was going to be a very good car. It was definitely very, very useful for French Riviera. But when we take a step back from that, if we take a step out of French Riviera, it's a different story. So we're going to start with its home base, ultra rare French Riviera niche. As you can see, it performs very well. Only loses slalom, hairpin to itself, basically, just two different tunes, and it loses in the car park to the Renault Clio Cup. But yeah, very, very dominant stuff here. So great start. That being said, French ultra rares. So we take a step away from the update. Let's just do French only. This is where it struggles because it's going to lose to the Citroen Max. It's still good on a hairpin and it's still good on a Canyon Tour, and it is useful in the drags, right? It is useful in the drags. You can use it on a quarter mile, 1 mile, and half mile. So it makes you think, is the Renault Twin'Run a drag spec car? Because they're not a lot, but not any French dragster. The best French dragster you know, was like the Citroen C Matisse, because that had like 88 MRA or whatever, right? You see, it's the best car for 0 to 150. The problem is the 0 to 60 on this thing is terrible. You need to give it like a while for it to like kick up in gear, right? But the top speed isn't high on this thing either. So, you know, even on the test bowl, you'd rather off using a Megane. So, you know, it's an interesting one. I feel like if you want to get the most out of the Twin'Run, or you want to get the most out of like a French ultra drag niche, you gotta get a Twin'Run and you gotta go drag spec, honestly. It's a very interesting one. Overall, ultra rare open, low ground clearance niche. Again, Twin'Run doesn't win anything besides the hairpin. It is a good RQ63 for the hairpin. That being said, you know, if you use one RQ more, you can use like the 4C or the 8C. They're gonna be better options to use. So overall, I honestly think that the Twin'Run is just slightly above average. I know some people are gonna disagree with me on this. It's great for French Riviera. We get that. But when you take a step back from French Riviera, when you look at just French events as a whole, yeah, it's a French dragster, I guess, 332. So that's why I put it slightly above average. But in a general sense, there are just so many better options to use. I mean, like, look back at this. I'd still rather use, I don't know, a Citroen C3 Max, which is also a French car. I'd rather use a Caterham 310R. I'd rather use Roof RGT on like the faster track sets, you know? So, you know, or, you know, the Alfa Romeos, or even the RQ61 Chevrolet WTCC, which wins on the karting circuit, right? So there are better options to use, and I've not been mentioned things like the Zenus, right? And then anyway, last one we want to talk about, the best car that you can unpack from this update is the Alpine A4810. I'll tell you right now, man, this thing is actually kind of disappointing. Okay, all right, it's very similar to the Twin'Run in a sense where like it's very good within its update, so people think it's very good, but when you take a step back from the update, it's not that great. And honestly, within its own update, French Riviera Legendaries, it loses on the car park G-force and G-force rolling, slalom rolling, and twisted circuit rolling, so a car that's 10 RQ cheaper. Okay, not twisted circuit rolling, sorry, it has no times for this, but it does lose on the super twisty tracks to a car that is 10 RQ cheaper from the same update, so that's not a good start. The Alpine A4 does have the indoor kartings and the twisty road and the fast circuit, twisted circuit, sure, Still not a good sign that it's losing to a car 10 RQ cheaper from the same update, from the same brand. These two things are going to be meeting each other a lot, right? We did talk about that Alpine A110 in the first part. That's a good car. I rated that really high. That was a very, very good car. Anyway, moving on. French legendaries doesn't win anything. It's the same RQ as the Peugeot 905. The 905 is better. I know some people are going to argue this is, slick. The Alpine is, performance. Look, I'm going to do another comparison with just performance tire cars. Don't you worry. But yeah, Peugeot L500 is better as well. That's the problem, right? And again, it's still losing to like G-Force to the A110 that's 10 RQ cheaper. So that ain't great. French legendaries here again on the drags. Alpine still doesn't win anything, right? 905 Spatter still the best one to use. Peugeot L500R is the best for the quarter mile. I would say that the only time this would be useful is, half mile. It's pretty decent on a half mile. And if you limit it to just performance tires, then it'll be a good dragster, because then these two cars will be eliminated. Actually, all the cars here will be eliminated besides like the Onyx and the Alpine, I think. Everything else is like slick. So yeah, and then here you go. So performance tire legendaries within its RQ range of 97 to 98. Yeah, I even put in a 94 and 96. Doesn't win anything, man. It just doesn't win anything. I don't even think I put a drag. Yeah, I didn't put a drag comparison because the Zenvo's going to beat it. Zenvo's definitely going to beat it. And if you want to make another argument, okay, how about if you did performance tire French cars only? On the drag, you'll lose the Bugatti. On the twisty stuff, then yeah, maybe the A410 will be useful. But come on, you're an RQ97 car, and I'm going to need to put you in a country-only tag with a performance tire only tag for you to be useful. And it has to be twisty track sets, right? It can't be drags, because then you'd rather use a Bugatti. So honestly, the fact that I have to accommodate to this car so much for it to just be useful in something isn't good. And honestly, I'm being nice giving this an average rating. I just feel like people are gonna come to me with pitchforks and knives if I put it, in the overrated category. But the reality is, I genuinely think it is skewed overrated. I guess another reason to give it a fighting chance for why I'm putting it in average is because it's a 97 RQ car. It is going to beat 90s and 91s. Yeah, of course it's going to beat 90s and 91s in many places. But then again, it is losing to an RQ87. We did see that within the same update. So I don't think this is a good car. I'm sorry. I don't think this is a good car. You can let me know down in the comments below if I'm missing something out. Maybe it has some sort of niche. I know it's like, I think it's like eco-friendly or something like that, or it's a concept. I did look at the concepts niche for this thing. Not that great. Still loses to a lot of other cars. I mean, granted, those are prize cars, but still. Yeah, not a great car. Honestly, seriously, I don't think that this is that good of a legendary. Take away French Riviera, right? Take away French Riviera. What do you have this car? Within French Riviera, it's great. I get it. But you take away French Riviera, what do you have? But anyway, guys, that is going to be it for today. Let me know in the comments below what cars you would like to see next. If we do a third part. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. This has been another episode of Overrated or Overpowered. Hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly, got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly, got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville Pontiac, hold tight all night.